3 years into our arranged marriage, Olivia wanted to have a baby with her dying ex-boyfriend, Luke, through artificial insemination. I said no. I told her if she went through with it, I'd die. She threw divorce papers at me, her face twisted with disgust. He's dying, Daniel. Can you just stop being so selfish and dramatic? For once, I failed the mission. The system's punishment, jump from the 18th floor. Daniel, it's just artificial insemination. I'm not sleeping with him. Can't you be a little less selfish? Luke's an only child. Do you want his family line to end? Luke has cancer. He's dying. I want to give him a child, give his parents something to live for. What's so wrong with that? If you can't handle it, we'll get a divorce. Olivia's face was flushed, her voice trembling with anger. Done. She would even say the word divorce, Olivia. I said, desperation creeping into my voice. If you leave, I'll die. Then die, she hissed, then stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. What was I to her? 8 years of marriage. And she wouldn't have a child with me but for her dying ex. She'd do anything. How pathetic. How cliché. And I was stuck playing the cuckolded husband post. If you cannot dissuade the target from artificial insemination, you will fail the mission. The system's voice was cold, emotionless. Right? If I failed, I'd be taking a swan dive off the balcony. That was the system's idea of a punishment, not mine. I hadn't been serious about dying. I racked my brain. Had I done something to deserve this? Why did she hate me so much? Oh, all right. She'd married me on a rebound to spite Luke. Then when it became clear they weren't getting back together, she'd blamed me for ruining her chances. I clung to a sliver of hope and called her. 3 rings, then voicemail. Probably driving. I told her a million times not to answer the phone while driving. I'd call back later. 30 minutes later, I tried again. Same result. The hospital was close. It shouldn't have taken her that long. Unless I pushed the thought away and frantically redialed. After a dozen unanswered calls, it hit me. She'd blocked me. The system propelled me towards the balcony. I looked down 18 stories. Surprisingly, my legs didn't shake. I'd always been afraid of heights. But this was exhilarating. This would definitely kill me. No chance of ending up a vegetable, or worse, crippled and even more repulsive to Olivia. Ready, host? System's voice was a monotone. Shall I commence the countdown? I smiled. I'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. No need, I said. And jumped. The sickening thud. The screams. My soul detached from the mangled mess that had been my body. I watched as paramedics loaded me onto a stretcher. The paramedics barely flinched at the sight of my remains. They'd seen it all before. Suddenly my phone rang. A young female paramedic answered. Hello. This is Olivia's enraged voice. Cut her off. Daniel. If you're going to die, just get it over with. Stop with these pathetic attempts to manipulate me. You want to die so bad, then do it. I wish you were dead. You're so selfish. You never appreciate anything anyone does for you. You've probably forgotten that Luke almost got crippled, saving you from those thugs. Well, I haven't. I'll never forget. If you want to die so bad, just do it. Then you won't be around to make our child's life miserable. A male paramedic snatched the phone. He's dead, lady. He yelled. Really? Another one of your little games, Daniel. Fine. Keep it up. Just don't let me see you alive again. She hung up. The paramedics exchanged bewildered looks. The older one took the phone and dialed Olivia's mother's number. Ma'am, this is Springfield General Hospital. We're not joking. Your son-in-law, Daniel, has committed suicide. Please come to the... Olivia's mother hung up on him too. Host. The system said, its voice devoid of inflection. You are the most pathetic failure I've ever encountered. I couldn't argue with that. Olivia's words echoed in my mind. Luke almost got crippled saving you. The irony was almost comical. Luke, the golden boy, had transferred to our high school in sophomore year. He'd been a troublemaker, picking on Olivia relentlessly. She'd come to me upset and I'd confronted him. We'd fought lot. It turned out, he'd been using those fights as an excuse to get close to her. The classic bad boy with a heart of gold routine. He started bringing her breakfast, orchestrated fake rescues and started walking her home, taking my place. I knew I couldn't compete. He was the protagonist. After all, my mission was to marry Olivia. When their relationship inevitably imploded, ensuring my survival. And it had worked. They gotten together. But he treated her like crap. That's what you get for messing with me. He'd smirked after one particularly brutal fight. It turned out he'd been punishing her all along. One afternoon, I overheard some guys planning to jump Olivia. They were doing it for a girl who had a crush on Luke. I called Olivia, warning her to take the back way home. I hung up, but they caught me. They beat me with metal pipes, demanding to know where Olivia was curled up protecting my head, refusing to talk. Then for some reason, Olivia and Luke walked out the front gate. she screamed, throwing herself on top of me. Luke joined in shielding her. We ended up in the hospital. Me in the ICU, Luke with a fractured arm. And that apparently was Olivia's version of almost crippled. Hilarious. I watched as they wheeled my body into the morgue. A paramedic scrolled through my contacts looking for next of kin. She found Mom, but it wasn't my mother. It was Olivia's. I'd been raised by my grandmother. After she died during my freshman year, Olivia's parents had taken me under their wing. We were neighbors. My grandmother used to bring them vegetables from her garden. They'd share their leftovers with us. Olivia always shared her lunch, her allowance, her new clothes. She'd been so kind until Luke. The paramedics cursed under their breath and called Olivia's mom. Daniel, honey, stop messing around. Your mom and I are too old for this drama. Just make up with Olivia already. The paramedic rolled her eyes. Ma'am, this is Springfield General. Your son-in-law, Daniel, has committed suicide. Oh, that boy, just like Olivia said, faking his own death. He told me you'd call. Well, I'm not falling for it, Daniel. Stop this nonsense. Olivia told me not to answer, but I did anyway. Now stop playing games and come home for dinner. Olivia's coming too. She hung up. I watched as they took my body to the crematorium. Back at Olivia's parents' house, everyone was having dinner. Olivia, her parents, Luke, one big happy family. Olivia's mom piled Luke's plate with food. Eat up, dear. You need to regain your strength. Luke's father was a successful businessman. Olivia's mom had always been impressed by that. Luke's such a good catch, she'd gush to Olivia right in front of me. So successful, such a nice young man. And he adores you. You'd be so lucky to marry him. And yet she'd married me. An orphan. Her dad had never approved. But Olivia had been stubborn. She'd insisted. They'd known me all my life. So they'd eventually relented. Olivia picked at her food, violent. Probably still fuming at me. Finally, she put down her fork. Mom, I want a divorce. Her mother sighed, as if expecting this. Well, if it'll make you happy, dear. This isn't healthy. Mom. Thank you for understanding. Daniel would never accept this baby. I can't be selfish and drag him down with me. Luke sat there quietly, a smug look on his face. They'd clearly discussed this. A knock on the door. Are you Daniel's family? I'm here to deliver his urn. The silence in the dining room was absolute. The clinking of silver forks against porcelain stopped, hovering midair. Olivia's mother let out a sharp, breathless laugh, the kind she used when a waiter brought the wrong wine. I'm sorry, what? Is this some kind of prank? The delivery man, a middle-aged guy in a faded gray windbreaker, looked exhausted. He wasn't a courier for a gag company. He had the hollow, underpaid stare of a municipal worker who dealt with the morbid reality of the city every day. No prank, ma'am, he said, his voice grating like sandpaper. He shifted the heavy square cardboard box in his hands. It had a white label slapped on the side with a barcode. I'm contracted by the county coroner's office. Unclaimed remains and expedited cremations for trauma cases. Sign here, please. He thrust an electronic clipboard toward Olivia. I floated near the chandelier, crossing my translucent arms, watching the scene unfold. I hadn't expected the system to work this fast, but I suppose when you're a glitch in the matrix, a failed host, they wipe your physical footprint. Clean off the server as quickly as possible. Olivia stared at the man, her face draining of color. The flush of righteous anger that had painted her cheeks an hour ago vanished, replaced by a sickly, chalky white. Daniel paid you to do this, didn't he? How much? I swear to God, when I see him. Lady, the delivery man interrupted, losing his meager patience. I don't know who Daniel is. I just know the guy inside this box took a header off an 18-story balcony about 3 hours ago. The remains were processed fast, because there wasn't much left to process. Are you signing or am I taking it back to the state locker? Olivia's hand trembled. She looked at her mother, then at Luke. Luke stood up, playing the protective anchor. He walked over, a gentle, condescending smile on his handsome face. Look, buddy, we don't want any trouble. We know Daniel put you up to this. Here's a 20. Just leave the box and tell him the joke is over. The delivery man looked at the $20 bill, then up at Luke, his expression twisting into profound disgust. Keep your money, asshole. He shoved the clipboard into Luke's chest, forcing him to grab it, grabbed a pen, and scrawled an X on the signature line himself. He slammed the box onto the dining table, right next to the gravy boat. There. Delivery complete. Have a nice dinner. He turned and walked out, the front door clicking shut behind him with a terrifying finality. Nobody moved. The box sat there, a crude, industrial thing sitting amidst the fine china and crystal glasses. I drifted down, sitting on the edge of the table, right next to my own remains. It was surreal. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just a cold, clinical curiosity. Olivia finally breathed. It was a ragged, shaky sound. She reached out her manicured fingers trembling violently as they grazed the cardboard. Open it, Luke said softly, his voice laced with forced sympathy. It's probably full of rocks, Liv. He's just trying to scare you. You know how manipulative he gets when he doesn't get his way. Olivia grabbed the flaps of the box. She pulled. Inside wasn't a joke. Inside was a heavy, sealed plastic bag filled with coarse, gray-white ash and bone fragments. Resting on top of the bag was a manila envelope. Olivia pulled the envelope out. She opened it. I knew what was inside. The death certificate. The police report. The coroner's stamp. Her eyes darted back and forth across the paper. I watched her pupils dilate until her irises were swallowed in black. Her breathing hitched, turning into a series of shallow gasps. Name Daniel Vance. Cause of death, massive blunt force trauma. Sudden deceleration. Time of death, 3:14 p.m. Exactly when the paramedic had answered her call. Exactly when she had screamed into the phone. If you're going to die, just get it over with. Olivia, her mother asked, her voice finally losing its haughty edge. Honey, what does it say? Olivia didn't answer. Her knees buckled. She hit the hardwood floor with a heavy thud, the papers fluttering down around her like dead leaves. She stared blankly at the wall, her mouth opening and closing, but no sound came out. Liv. Luke dropped to his knees beside her, grabbing her shoulders. He looked at the paper. His jaw tightened. For a fraction of a second I saw it, not grief, but sheer, unadulterated panic. His golden goose, the annoying husband who was supposed to be pushed aside so Luke could slide into a comfortable life, was actually dead. And a suicide was messy. It left stains. We need to go to the hospital, Olivia whispered, her voice scraping against her throat. Now. I need to go now. Springfield General was quiet at this hour. The harsh fluorescent lights washed everyone in a sickly pallor. Olivia sprinted up to the front desk, leaving her mother and Luke trailing behind. Daniel Vance. She slammed her hands on the counter. I need to see Daniel Vance. He was brought in earlier. An accident. The triage nurse tapped her keyboard. She paused, looking up at Olivia with a strange expression. Are you the wife? Yes. Yes, I'm his wife. Wait here. A few minutes later, the same young female paramedic from earlier walked through the double doors. She was holding a clear plastic evidence bag. She stopped a few feet from Olivia, her eyes cold, evaluating. You're the wife, the paramedic said. It wasn't a question. The one on the phone. Olivia flinched as if she'd been struck. Where is he? There's been a mistake. They sent a box to my house. There's no mistake, the paramedic said sharply. He jumped from the 18th floor of the Mercer building. He landed on the concrete retaining wall. The impact shattered his skull and severed his spine. He died instantly. She held up the plastic bag. The police released his personal effects to us since they cleared it as a suicide. These are yours. Olivia stared at the bag. Inside was my phone, the screen spiderwebbed with cracks caked in dried brown blood. Next to it was my wallet and my wedding ring, which had been cut off my swollen, broken finger. No, Olivia whimpered, backing away. No, he wouldn't. He's afraid of heights. He wouldn't. Well, he was more afraid of living, apparently, the paramedic said, her voice dripping with venom. She shoved the bag into Luke's chest, just as the delivery guy had done with the clipboard. You told him to do it. We heard you on speakerphone. If you want to die so bad, just do it. Those were your words. Congratulations, ma'am. You got your wish. The paramedic turned on her heel and walked away. Olivia let out a sound I had never heard from her before. A guttural, animalistic shriek that tore through the quiet lobby. She collapsed, curling into a fetal position right there on the linoleum tiles, clutching her hair. Daniel. Oh my God, Daniel. No, no, no. Her mother rushed forward, crying now, trying to pull her up. Olivia, please. People are staring. Luke stood over them, holding the bag with my bloody phone. He looked deeply inconvenienced. I drifted above them, feeling a strange sense of weightlessness. It wasn't just the lack of a physical body. The invisible chains that had bound me to Olivia for 8 years. The system's directives, the desperate need for her approval, the pathetic hope that she would one day love me, were gone. Host status, deceased, the system's voice chimed in my head. It was no longer cold. It sounded almost recalibrating. Mission failed. However, initiating protocol, retribution, observation. You may remain as a tethered entity until the target's psychological collapse reaches 100%. A front row seat. How generous. The funeral was pathetic. I didn't have family. Olivia's parents paid for a small closed casket service. A formality, considering I was dust in a box. It rained because of course it did. The universe loves a cliché. Olivia looked like a ghost. She had lost weight in just 4 days. Her eyes were sunken, rimmed with dark, bruised purple. She hadn't spoken more than a dozen words since the hospital. She just sat in the front row, staring at the glossy wooden urn they had transferred my ashes into. Luke sat next to her, wearing a sharp black suit. He had his arm around her, playing the tragic pillar of strength. After the priest mumbled some generic words about a man he didn't know, people began to disperse. Olivia didn't move. "Liv, honey," Luke whispered, kissing her temple. "We should go. It's not good for you to stay out in the cold. Think of your health. Think of our future." He was pushing it. The idiot couldn't read the room. Olivia slowly turned her head to look at him. Her eyes were dead. "Our future. We still have a plan, Liv," he murmured, squeezing her shoulder. "I don't have much time left. My condition, it's getting worse. The stress of all this isn't helping. We need to do the insemination soon. It's what we agreed on. It's the only way my parents will have a piece of me left." I sat on my own headstone, leaning forward. This was the moment. Olivia stared at him. Really stared at him. The man she had destroyed her marriage for. The dying, tragic hero. "Daniel is in the ground," she whispered, her voice dangerously quiet. "My husband scraped himself off the pavement because I told him to. Because I wanted to have your baby." "He was sick, Olivia," Luke said quickly, shifting the blame. "Daniel had mental issues. You can't put that on yourself. He was selfish to the very end, doing this to punish you." Olivia stood up. She didn't cry. The hollowed-out look in her eyes was replaced by something sharp and jagged. "I'm going home, Luke. Do not follow me. Liv, be reasonable." "I said, do not follow me," she screamed, her voice echoing across the silent graveyard. A few stragglers turned to look. Luke froze, his mask slipping for a fraction of a second, revealing the ugly, selfish sneer underneath. He raised his hands in mock surrender and stepped back. That night, Olivia locked herself in my study. It was a small room I used for reading. I had kept it immaculately clean. She sat on the floor, surrounded by my things. She pulled out a cardboard box from the bottom drawer of my desk. It was my keepsake box. I hadn't opened it in years. She dumped the contents onto the rug. Old movie tickets, a dried flower from her high school graduation, birthday, cards she had hastily signed over the years, and at the bottom, a folded, yellowing medical file. She picked it up. Her hands shook as she opened it. It was the hospital report from the incident in high school. The day I got beaten by the thugs. The day Luke saved her. She read the list of my injuries. 3 cracked ribs, orbital bone fracture, severe concussion, defensive lacerations on forearms. Then a piece of paper slipped out from behind the medical report. It was a police statement, a copy I had requested years ago but never showed her. Olivia unfolded it. It was the confession from one of the thugs, taken a year after the incident when he was arrested for something else. Question: why did you target Olivia Vance? Answer: we weren't targeting her. We were paid to scare her. Question: paid by who? Answer: the boyfriend, Luke. Gave us $200. Said he wanted to look like a badass in front of her. Told us to grab her backpack and push her around. But that other kid, Daniel, he showed up early. He went psycho. Wouldn't stay down. We beat the hell out of him. Because he actually fought back. Olivia stopped breathing. I leaned against the bookshelf, watching her mind fracture. The foundation of her great romance, the guilt she carried for Luke's sacrifice, the disdain she held for my cowardice. All of it was built on a cheap, $200 lie. No, she choked out, dropping the paper as if it burned her. No, no, no. She scrambled for her phone. She dialed a number with trembling fingers. Hello, a man's voice answered. It was Marcus, an old high school classmate who had run in the same circles as those thugs. Marcus. Olivia breathed, sounding deranged. It's Olivia. Olivia Vance. Oh, hey Olivia. Listen, I heard about Daniel. I'm really sorry. The fight. She interrupted, her voice cracking. The fight sophomore year. With Luke and Daniel. A heavy silence fell over the line. Olivia. Why are you asking about that? Now. Tell me the truth, she shrieked. Tears finally spilling over, hot and violent. Tell me right now. Marcus sighed, a heavy guilty sound. Look, everyone kinda knew Liv. Luke bragged about it at a party after he got his cast off. He paid those guys. Daniel wasn't supposed to be there. Daniel took the beating meant for you. Luke just jumped in at the end when the cops were called and tripped over a curb, fracturing his own arm. Olivia dropped the phone. It clattered against the floorboards. Marcus's voice buzzed faintly from the speaker, asking if she was okay, but she couldn't hear. She curled into a tight ball on the rug, pressing her face into my old, worn-out sweater that smelled like cedar and laundry detergent. She screamed into the fabric, a sound of absolute, soul-tearing agony. She had mocked me. She had called me pathetic. She had wished me dead. And the whole time, she had been worshipping the devil while sacrificing the only person who had bled for her. Target psychological collapse. 50%, the system chimed. I smiled. We were just getting started. 2 days later, Olivia walked into Springfield General Hospital again. She didn't look like the pampered, upper-middle-class housewife anymore. She wore sweatpants, her hair was unwashed, and there was a feral intensity in her eyes. She bypassed the main desk and walked straight toward the oncology department. She had Luke's medical file numbers. She had memorized them months ago when she was arranging his appointments. She walked up to the administrative counter. I need to speak to Dr. Aris. It's regarding Luke Harrison. The nurse looked up, frowning. Dr. Aris? He's a plastic surgeon, ma'am. Operates on the 4th floor. Olivia froze. What? No. Luke Harrison is an oncology patient. He has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The nurse typed the name into the system. She shook her head. I'm sorry, there is no Luke Harrison in the oncology database. We do have a Luke Harrison in the outpatient system. He had a benign cyst removed from his shoulder 3 months ago by Dr. Aris. That's the only record we have. Olivia stood there, the sterile hospital air rushing out of her lungs. A cyst, she whispered. Yes, completely benign. He was discharged the same day. Olivia turned around. The world was tilting on its axis. I walked beside her, hands in my pockets, whistling a tune she couldn't hear. The cancer. The tragic, ticking clock that had forced her hand. The reason she threw the divorce papers in my face. All a scam. She didn't take an Uber home. She walked. It took her 3 hours. By the time she reached her parents' house, where Luke was currently staying, being pampered by her mother, her feet were bleeding in her shoes. She pushed the front door open. The smell of roasted chicken wafted from the kitchen. Laughter. Her mother and Luke were sitting in the living room, drinking wine. Oh, Olivia, darling, finally, her mother said, setting her glass down. Where have you been? Luke was getting so worried. Come sit, eat something. You look terrible. Luke stood up, walking toward her with that practiced look of deep concern. Liv, I tried calling you. You can't just disappear like that. My heart can't take the stress. Olivia looked at him. She looked at his healthy complexion, the glass of red wine in his hand, the relaxed posture. She walked to the fireplace. She picked up the heavy iron poker resting against the stone hearth. Olivia, her mother asked, her voice hitching. What are you doing? Olivia turned, her eyes locked on Luke. Who is Dr. Aris? Luke stopped dead in his tracks. The color vanished from his face so fast he looked like a corpse. His mouth opened, but the silver tongue that had charmed his way through life suddenly failed him. I don't. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, Olivia said, her voice eerily calm as she gripped the iron poker. But Dr. Aris is a plastic surgeon. He removed a cyst from your shoulder. Her mother gasped, standing up. Luke, what is she talking about? Liv, listen to me, Luke stammered, taking a step back. It was a misdiagnosis. I swear. I just found out. I didn't know how to tell you because you were already grieving Daniel. I didn't want to confuse you. You paid the thugs, Olivia said, taking a step forward. Luke hit the back of the sofa. What? No. Who told you that? It's a lie. You paid the thugs to beat me. Daniel took the hits. You bought a fake medical diagnosis to rush me into getting pregnant, so you could secure a tie to my family's money. She took another step. You made me hate the only man who loved me. You made me kill him. Olivia, put the poker down, her mother screamed, finally realizing the danger. She grabbed her phone to call the police. Luke bolted. He shoved the coffee table out of the way and ran for the front door. Olivia didn't chase him. She just watched him run like a coward, tripping over the rug, scrambling out the door into the night. She dropped the iron poker. It clattered loudly against the floor. She fell to her knees, burying her face in her hands, her screams tearing through the house, shattering the illusion of her perfect life forever. Target psychological collapse. 100%, the system announced. The air around me began to shimmer. The living room, Olivia on the floor, her mother frantically screaming into the phone. It all started to desaturate, turning gray and translucent. Protocol complete. Karma equilibrium reached. Host Daniel Vance, you are now unbound. Wait, I said, looking at the system's interface floating in the air. What happens to her. Target. Olivia Vance will live a long, physically healthy life, the system replied. She will be consumed by unresolvable guilt. Luke Harrison will be arrested for fraud and extortion regarding his debts, which precipitated his scam. He will serve 5 to 8 years. Olivia will spend the rest of her existence visiting an urn that cannot forgive her. A long, healthy life. That was the ultimate punishment. Dying was easy. I knew that firsthand. It only took a few seconds of free fall. But living with the knowledge that you destroyed your own salvation for a parasite? That takes decades to endure. I looked at Olivia one last time. She was curled on the floor, calling my name over and over again, begging empty air for a forgiveness she would never receive. For the first time since I married her, I felt completely, wonderfully free. Send me to the next world, I told the system. And make sure I'm a billionaire. This time, I'm done doing charity work. Confirmed, the system replied. The world dissolved into white light, leaving the echoes of Olivia's screams far, far behind me.